Good morning, students. This video is for Friday, April 3rd. All right, so as you know, I've been telling you this all week. This is the day you need to finish Sarah Plain and Tall and your lap book. And go ahead and return both the book and the lap book with your return items. And I'm going to also have a checklist that you can start checking off and making sure that you have your items so that when you pick up your work for next week, you'll be able to turn everything in. I'm really proud of how you're doing. If you're missing something, I'm not mad at you. I'm just putting a highlight there so you can look for it, because I know some of you have done the work at home and then maybe you just haven't turned it in or you misplaced it or something. So everybody's doing a great job turning in their work. I'm really proud of you. But if you forgot something, just turn it in the next week and then I'll give you credit for it. Okay, so remember we read the Easter egg farm earlier in the week and you were working on your chick. If for some reason you haven't finished that yet, please finish it up, because that's something you're going to turn in when you pick up your work. Okay, for spelling, you're going to do page 108, and you should have already glued your words on the back, and you're going to write words following the pattern. So you can either look on the back of the sheet and see the words, or you can look in your binder at your list. So form, that's or, so you're going to write words that have that same sound. And then this or is O-R-E, this one's O-A-R, and then this one, all these words should start with a W-O-R, like were. And then make sure when you turn in your work to tear out these spelling pages that we've done and turn them in. This time you're going to only have one page to turn in from the book. Okay, for math, you're going to do check my progress, and this is a little quiz for Mrs. Bollinger to see how you're doing, and that's on 611 and 612. So you're just going to do these problems. I'm not going to tell you the answers on Zoom because I kind of want to see what you know. So these are vocabulary words, and you're going to match them up. Now, if you have your vocabulary cards, if you're having trouble, you could look on those vocabulary cards and see what it is. 60 minutes is 1, and is 1 digital clock. Oh, that makes no sense at all. It has to either be a minute or an hour or a half hour. So look back or figure out how much 60 minutes is, 30 minutes, and 60 seconds. Fill in the answers here. Then here, of course, you just write the times. And then on this one, you're going to have to draw the hands on the clock and write the times and do these word problems. Now, if this doesn't take you very long, you can go ahead and go over to Accelerated Math or Freckle Math and work on it. If this takes you a while and you don't have time, then just do the check progress. Okay, for your Scholastic activity, remember you're using your butterfly book, and then you're going to get a new page to show me your work. Now, for this one, you're going to be talking about measuring, and a lot of times in measuring, they're going to tell you about a ruler and about inches and yardsticks, and even in the video, they're going to talk about some other ways to measure, like you can measure how much something weighs. But for the activity, it's going to be interesting because you're going to use what's called non-standard measuring. And non means not standard. So standard measuring would be using something that you've heard of, like inches or feet, or even the metric system using centimeters. But today you're going to be choosing an item to do your measuring with. So you can choose whatever items you have around the house. I just happen to have this pen here and some scissors. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose an item that that's going to be what you're going to use to measure. So So you're going to choose an item to measure with. So I'm going to choose this pen. So when I measure it, let's say I wanted to measure my clock going across. You know what? This is kind of small. I think I need to measure something bigger. How about if I measure this stool right here? I'm going to measure how high this stool is. I don't know if you can see this. How about if I turn it sideways? Can you see it like that?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to put it at the edge, and then I'm going to put my finger here and then move it. So that's one pen. That's 2 pens. That's 3 pens. Now, I'm just going to go to the nearest pen. If I do this much, is that going to be another pen's length? Not really. So this is about 3 pens tall. If you use something smaller, obviously you're going to have to use more of them. If you use something large, it will be something bigger. So you're going to measure a couple of other things. Like I could take this table and I could measure across with my pen. And what I would do is I would go to the edge and I would measure, then I'd put my finger and measure again, and I'm going to count how many pens all the way across this table. Now, you're probably saying, well, what do I do in my booklet? Well, in your booklet, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a picture of one or more things you measure. So like I could draw a picture of this stool, and then I would write how many that I measured with a pen, and it was, this stool was 3 pens. And I would have to say tall, because I don't think I would measure it across. I think I was measuring tall. Okay? Or I could draw a picture of this table. And after I measured with the pens, I could say this table is however many pens across. Get it? So you draw a picture, write what you measured with, and how many was needed to measure across, or how tall it was. Just say what you measured. Now for our last thing. We're going to be doing our, oops, I didn't show you. This is our language booklet, and we're going to be doing noteworthy nouns. Okay, so there are 3 rules that most nouns follow. Remember, a noun is a person, place, or thing. A lot of nouns, you just add an S to make a plural. Now, some of those that end in these sounds, remember we said they were kind of the sounds that make a sound end with, if they end with S, X, CH, SH, you're going to add an ES to those words. Now, if it ends in a Y, and you're going to try to make that word plural, like I noticed the word butterfly, some of you are writing that with your report, or maybe baby, when you add your ending to make it plural, you have to change that Y to I and add ES. Okay, so for each of these, there's going to be 4 that follow the rules. So this is your list that you're going to use. Now, some of these words, they're being a little tricky here, I have to say. Some of these words are already plurals. It's already more than one, so you don't need to write them down. So let's just read through, and I'm going to stop if I think the word's already plural. Address. Okay, wait, that's 1. Bench, 1 bench. Books. Can you have 1 books? No, that's not right. That's already plural. So I don't have to write that. It just says check the box if it's plural already. So I'm going to check the box, books. And then I don't need to write books anymore. That one's done. Bus. Wait, that's 1 bus. What about candies? Hey, that's more than 1 candies. So candies is more than 1, so I'm going to check that. So once I get through marking the ones that are already plural, I don't have to write those words. I write the other words. So let's look at address, for example. That's the first one. So let me write this down for you. So if you have address and you add another S, that's going to make a S, and that's not going to work. So when I look at the rules, I know it's not going to be S. Let's see, is it ES or IES? Well, IES ends in Y. Does address end in Y? No. So maybe it's ES. Let's see. Hey, it says it ends in S. Hey, that might work. I spelled address wrong there. Sorry about that. 2 Ds. Address. And then if we put ES, addresses. Addresses. Hey, that works. So I would write addresses over here. And then I can just cross it off. You don't need to check it because the words that are checked are the ones that are already plural. Let's try one more. Let's try one down here. Let's try hobby. Hobby, I could add an S, an ES, or change the Y to IES. Hey, that ends in Y. Let's see, if I take off the Y, it would be hobbies. I changed the Y to I. Okay, let me tell you one little trick though. When a word ends in Y, but the letter before Y is a vowel, like weekday, you don't change the Y to I. Do you see this A right here? That's a vowel. So all I'm going to do on weekday is add an S. So that would be the exception to words ending in Y. I think that's the only one I'm looking through. I think that's the only trick with the ends in Y. So I just gave you one freebie right there. All right? Okay, that's the end of your required work. Make sure to turn in your reading hours today if you haven't already. And look at your checklist and get those things ready to turn in. All right, I'm going to tell you a couple optional activities to do. For recess today, one idea is to make a blanket fort. And I'm not sure if you've done this before, but what you do is you just take blankets or sheets and you kind of drape them over chairs or furniture and make your own fort. You might be able to do it outside if you had some items that you could use outside, but it's probably more of an inside activity. And then when you're done, you could do your reading in there, or you could use it to kind of play, like make a playhouse out of it. All right, and then there's one more activity that's on your little packet of extra credit if you'd like to do it. It's an Easter page where you put the words in ABC order, and that's using these Easter words at the bottom. Now I have a little bit of business to take care of from Mrs. Moore. Okay, first of all, Mrs. Moore mentioned that some of you, maybe not you, some of the students were a little bit jealous that some kids got dessert day. So if you want dessert day today on Friday, talk to your parents and maybe you guys could work that out to make something or be able to get something to have a treat because it's Friday. Now I'm sorry we're not going to be able to do it at school today, but today is Friday dessert day. Also today is when we usually have our honors art classes. And so Mrs. Moore wanted me to tell you about a new option that she's offering. And it's going to be an elective on coding. So if you're interested in trying that, you can come to a Zoom meeting today at 2:30. Mrs. Moore will be sending out some more information about that. But if you're interested in doing that, you can do it in your extra time. You can do it on the weekends. It's one of those electives that can be done anytime. But she will be having a Zoom meeting Friday at 2:30 to explain a little bit more about it. If you can't come to the Zoom meeting, you can still do it. But if you'd like more information, I'll be sending out the code later. All right, one more item from Mrs. Moore. She's going to be sending you a paper that looks like this. And I don't know how Mrs. Moore keeps coming up with these ideas, but she does. She has a new idea which is called Pearl Phone Pals. Now, we know that there's a lot of people who are stuck at home and can't go anywhere, but especially the older grandparents. Like my mom, who's a grandma, can't do her regular things that she does. She likes to go walking at the Arboretum or go do things with her friends. And we don't even let her go to the store. We go to the store for her because we don't want her to get sick because she's in that group that's older that we don't want her to get sick. So there's a lot of people like that who are kind of stuck at home and they don't have kids like you to cheer them up. Maybe their kids are all grown up and maybe they even live by themselves. And they would like a pal to talk to on the phone. Now, if you already know someone like that, your grandparents or your aunts and uncles or somebody, a friend from church that is an older person, they don't even have to be older. Some of the people who are sick have to stay home and be away from people too. So if you know someone like that, you could be their phone pal and give them a call a couple times a week or once a week, whatever. And you could even ask them some questions. So Mrs. Moore has given you some interview questions to ask. Now, this would be way too many questions to ask in one day. But she's given you a lot, so maybe one day you can ask 2 or 3, and then if you end up calling them again, you can ask a couple more and get to know them and actually learn some history from when they were a child. If you would like Mrs. Moore to find you someone to be phone pals with, she knows some older people, and people are telling her people that they know who need a friend. You can contact the office, text them or call them, and they will give you a phone pal. But if you already have somebody that needs your support, like your own grandparents and family members, go ahead and use these questions to talk to them. I know my kids have been calling their grandparents a lot more than they usually do and talking to them, so that actually is kind of nice. But anyway, if you'd like to have a phone pal, you can. This is a totally optional activity, but I think it's a lot of fun. All right, have a great weekend.